Hello, nice to meet you. I am Dr. Kim.
Hello, this is Kim Ki-hyun from Richgo.
As the era of the loan cliff arrives, we are also approaching the implementation of Stress DSR Phase 3 next year. There are even discussions about an earlier implementation. This will likely tighten loan limits even further. So today, I would like to discuss this topic.
It is becoming increasingly clear that the avenues for obtaining money through loans are continuously shrinking. So, let's take a look at some articles related to this topic. Now, the Stress DSR Phase 2 was implemented in September, and as you can see, it includes mortgage loans and credit loans in the banking sector. Additionally, mortgage loans are also included in the financial sector, and the stress virtual interest rate is applied at 50%, which is part of Phase 2. However, Phase 3 is scheduled for next July. Here, you can see that other loans have been added. Yes, so, in short, other loans. What does that include? Other loans. It includes everything, right? Isn't that a bit too broad? Yes, so, you can consider that all loans except for mortgage loans and credit loans are included. Of course, whether the John's loan will be included or not has not been determined yet, and now the virtual interest rate is being applied at 100%. However, these days, as people are increasingly going beyond the standard limits to extreme levels, the financial authorities are still keeping the possibility of additional regulations open. In fact, it has been reported that they are even considering the early implementation of the Stress DSR Phase 3, which is scheduled for next July.
We don't know yet if Phase 3 will be implemented early, but it is almost certain that it will be enacted. If that happens, how much of a difference will there be in the loan limits?
This varies depending on the conditions, but assuming a 30-year maturity. With a fixed repayment loan at an annual interest rate of 4.5%, if the income is 100 million won, before the introduction of the Stress DSR, one could borrow approximately 658 million won. Now, the variable interest rate is 556 million won, which means a reduction of over 100 million won, equivalent to one's annual salary. If you opt for a mixed type, the loan limit is a bit higher, at 594 million won, resulting in a decrease of about 64 million won. So, at a minimum, it decreases by more than 60% of one's annual salary, and at most, it can decrease by the full amount of one's annual salary. For someone with an annual salary of 100 million won, does that mean a reduction of 100 million won? That's right. And this issue is not limited to just mortgage loans. It also includes credit loans and other loans, which is the problem. Therefore, it is certain that the door to loans will continue to narrow. One of the reasons I believe the real estate market will be quite unfavorable in the second half of 2025 is that the Stress DSR is scheduled to be implemented starting in July next year. However, the issue is that this is not yet confirmed. They will monitor the results of Phase 2 before adjusting the timing and implementation of Phase 3. Additionally, there are many regions where the local real estate market is experiencing significant stagnation. As a result, they are saying that the Stress DSR Phase 3 will not be applied uniformly. So, it's like this. In some less favorable situations, certain measures may not be applied, and this is something that will need to be monitored over time. Additionally, depending on market conditions, there is also a possibility of an early implementation of Phase 3.
Anyway, it does seem to be showing some signs of a slight downturn right now, so I'm not sure if they will move it forward or not, but it seems that polarization is quite severe, and I think differentiated regulations will likely be applied.
Yes, that's right. I think it's highly likely. It seems appropriate to do so. This is because the situation in the regions is quite bad, and applying this there could worsen the situation even more. Therefore, as you can see, when the Stress DSR Phase 3 is implemented, the loan market freeze will likely continue next year.
If this is implemented, will mortgage loans, credit loans, and also other loans all be subject to regulation, including household debt?
That's right. Everything is possible. Wow, that's a bit intense, isn't it? It's quite strong, really strong. So, what does this mean? I bought a house, and eventually I will sell this house, right? This means that the number of people who can buy this house with a loan will decrease, right? Why? Since loans are not being granted as freely, the total amount of loans is now fixed, encompassing mortgage loans, credit loans, and other loans. Initially, only mortgage loans were considered, while the others were excluded. However, with these now included, both the limits are decreasing and the scope is expanding, which I believe will have a significant impact. Consequently, people are now looking for alternatives and need to adapt. I cannot back down. As a result, it is said that credit loans are increasing significantly now, and even with a mortgage loan, subordinate secured loans are also emerging. Subordinate secured loans have their own clear pros and cons. Receiving a secured loan up to the subordinate level generally means that the interest rates are likely to be high, right? From the bank's perspective, since I am taking a subordinate position on the collateral, there is a risk if it goes to auction. Therefore, it is natural that the interest rates are likely to be higher, correct? And what happens if this declines during a peak period like now? What will happen to the financial institutions that provide subordinate mortgage loans? It could be risky to that extent, but since the banking sector is currently blocked, the LTV and DSR regulations are less stringent here, and the average contract amount is now around 82.82 million won. It is reported that 4 out of 10 people are currently flocking to subordinate mortgage loans. Since the end of August, there has been a surge of over 70% compared to the previous month. Regardless of the situation, with the loan threshold being blocked, if I have made a contract, I need to pay the remaining balance. Therefore, I have no choice but to seek subordinate loans.
The increase in people taking out subordinate loans is seen as a sign that the economy is struggling.
Right, now, look at this. Credit loans are increasing, and then subordinate loans are also increasing. However, it is said that card loans and auto loans have increased as well. So right now, people are desperately looking for quick cash, and they are completely caught up in loans. It's really unfortunate. Typically, credit loans and mortgage loans are referred to as recession loans, and we have reached that point now. But what was the balance of credit loans in July? It was 41 trillion, the highest ever. The quick cash window for insurance contract loans also increased by 1.3 trillion. It is reported that auto collateral loans have been on the rise since the beginning of the year. This trend is attributed to the prolonged high interest rates, which have led to the so-called recession-type loans being concentrated among struggling citizens. And what else is there? The real estate market is so expensive that even making payments on loans is difficult, right? So, everything is interconnected because of this. So, I would like to say that it is fundamentally better for real estate prices to rise. This is correct for everyone, but such a rapid increase in the real estate market is concerning. In the end, it can push the economy into a crisis and even lead to its collapse.
What worries me is that in the case of these high-risk loans, they are inevitably used by individuals with lower credit scores. However, they are still expensive. The interest rates are high, and that adds to the concern.
If one cannot repay, the debt accumulates, leading to a larger bombshell. This is why the Financial Supervisory Service has now put the brakes on the unprecedented increase in credit loans. They are demanding a risk management plan to be presented quickly. As you can see, the trend of credit card balances has been continuously increasing since 2022, particularly after the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. The amount has reached its peak. However, as this non-repayment bomb continues to grow, people's livelihoods are becoming more difficult. Consequently, the amount of money owed by credit card companies in the first half of 2024 has already exceeded 2 trillion won, indicating that they are unable to recover the borrowed funds. This has increased by 22% in just 1 year. Even when they try to lower the delinquency rate through loss provisions, once a loss is recognized, it is considered final. Despite these measures, the delinquency rate continues to rise. The situation is becoming increasingly serious every day, and as we approach the critical point of lending, the doors to loans will continue to narrow, especially affecting those with lower credit ratings.
Pay loan.
That's right. It seems like a lot will emerge. So ultimately, real estate has clear limitations on its market growth without loans. Moreover, the number of people who urgently need loans is increasing more and more. The upcoming Phase 3 will bring an even harsher loan cliff. It is scheduled for July next year. Additionally, it will become increasingly difficult to roll over loans. So, the aftershock that BIS warned about is coming. I already took out a loan when the lending doors were slightly open. But it's getting narrower and will become even narrower next year. Don't I have to pay this back someday? This means there could be problems. Therefore, if you can manage to increase your debt, for example, during this overvalued period, it is advisable to do so in cash. Can you really take out a loan of 200,000 to 300,000 won? Go ahead. If you want to do it, I have no reason to stop you. I don't worry at all about those kinds of people. What's the problem? With my assets being so limited, I just want to somehow secure a loan to provide a home where my family can live happily. That's my wish. However, if this is done incorrectly during a risky period, it could lead to serious problems.
I think I can pile on more debt.
Of course. So, please keep in mind that the path is narrowing and a dangerous period is approaching. Conversely, this can also be seen as a very good time to secure your own home, although it may come a bit later. Therefore, now is the time to reduce your loans as much as possible and save money calmly for a month or two, accumulate your savings, and later, even if I try to dissuade you, there will come a time when I will say, now is a great time to buy a house, so please buy one. That time will definitely come, and I think it would be wonderful if you could say, this is my home at that moment.
For the time being, there was a reminder today to be cautious with loans, as there are still aspects related to the DSR that will be implemented next year. Thank you for the good advice.